A historic palace whose halls are roamed by chilling ghosts, a cursed roadway harboring terrifying monsters and vengeful gods, and a forested river where dead children play under the moonlight await on this journey through some of Hawaii's most haunted places. Let's dive right in. Hey guys, and thanks for joining me on this journey through some of Hawaii's most haunted places. Recognized for its colorful cities, unparalleled tropical weather, breathtaking nature expanses, volcanoes, unique culture, and more, the Aloha State also boasts a much darker reputation, one centered around living gods, phantom warriors, and classic island ghost stories sure to send chills down your spine. Are you sure you're ready for this one? Our first haunt takes us to the western shores of the Big Island and has us checking in at the Royal Kona Resort. The Royal Kona Resort, which is prominently situated on Pakai Point in Kailua Kona, on Hawaii's Big Island, has been an iconic presence since its inception in the late 1960s, and to this day draws in countless tourists each and every year, some who travel to the site for its location centric to a number of the area's more popular attractions, and others for its ties to classic Hawaiian folklore and some chilling old town ghost stories. Historically, the resort's development was part of a broader initiative to bolster tourism to the region, capitalizing on Kailua Kona's picturesque coastline and favorable climates. Designed by architectural firm Wimberley, Wisenand, Allison, Tong, and Gu, the resort's image was intended to evoke the slope of Mauna Loa, featuring a sleek white 7-story structure that gracefully ascends from its oceanfront location, with its open-air first story adorned with tapa-inspired terrazzo floors, chandeliers resembling large carved fish hooks, and Japanese paper lanterns, further integrating the building with its Hawaiian setting. Originally opened as the Kona Hilton in 1968, the site would undergo a rebranding to become the Royal Kona Resort, and over the decades, it has maintained its status as a beloved destination, offering guests a blend of vintage Hawaiian charm and modern amenities, while boasting renown for its beachfront location providing panoramic views of the Kailua Bay, and features such as an oceanside swimming pool, a saltwater lagoon, and the celebrated Dawn the Beachcomber restaurant and Dawn's Mai Tai Bar, which is known for world-class Mai Tais and live entertainment. Additionally, its proximity to the historic Kailua village allows guests easy access to local dining, shopping, and cultural experiences, including the nearby Iolani Palace. The Royal Kona Resort also hosts the Voyagers of the Pacific Luau, offering an authentic Hawaiian experience with traditional music, dance, and cuisine. Throughout its history, this lodging has embodied the spirit of aloha, providing a timeless retreat that celebrates the rich heritage and natural beauty of Hawaii. It remains open into the present and stands amongst the most popular lodgings across the islands. And while the Royal Kona Resort is definitely a lavish lodging choice for anyone traveling through the area, over its many years, it's also built a very different reputation, one pertaining to a purported wealth of supernatural encounters on site, with long-standing legends claiming hauntings experienced on the property are either due to the structure being built atop an ancient burial ground, a heiau, or simply a result of those who have died while staying or working there. Incidentally, both staff and guests to the Royal Kona have reported instances of doors opening and closing on their own, faucets or lights that turn on inexplicably, and accounts of loud commotions heard from vacant rooms. Several informal investigations of the expanse have yielded strange EMF fluctuations, odd voices captured in audio and video recordings, and hits on communicative devices such as spirit boxes, while others have described being awakened from sleep in the middle of the night when their bedsheets were literally ripped from their bodies. Easily the most famous, and, if I do say so myself, disturbing stories to emerge from this old resort are those associated with its oceanside pool and salt baths. As it's told, a handful of tourists who have gone for late-night dips have described spying dark figures just below the surface, swimming around at unnatural speeds, and on several more terrifying occasions have felt cold, clammy hands grasping at their legs or ankles. Our second haunt has us traveling across to Oahu and along the iconic Pali Highway. The Pali Highway, or State Route 61, on the island of Oahu, is one of the most historically significant roads in Hawaii, connecting Honolulu on the south shore to Kailua and Kaneohe on the windward side of the island. Its length is traveled by countless people each day, and its bounds have acted as a catalyst for some pretty spooky ghost stories as well as one of the island's most famous legends. The history of the Pali, which means cliff in Hawaiian, dates back centuries to ancient foot trails used by native islanders to travel between the windward and leeward sides of Oahu, and both the Pali Cliffs and the Uanu Valley were considered sacred and held great spiritual significance. The most famous historical event tied to Pali is the Battle of Uanu in 1795, when King Kamehameha I led his forces to a decisive victory that united the Hawaiian Islands under his rule. During this battle, Kamehameha's warriors drove the opposing forces of Oahu's chief, Kalanikupule, from the valley and over the steep cliffs, where hundreds are said to have fallen to their deaths. And the victory was a key moment in the unification of the Hawaiian Islands, solidifying Kamehameha's control over Oahu, while paving the way for the establishment of the Hawaiian Kingdom. The construction of a formal roadway over Pali began in the mid-19th century. In 1845, a rough path suitable for horses and foot traffic was built under the orders of Hawaiian King Kamehameha III to improve trade and travel between Honolulu and the windward coast. And by 1898, the first paved Pali road was completed, allowing for carriage and wagon travel. However, the steep grade and sharp turns of the original road made it quite treacherous, especially during heavy rains, fog, or storms. And in 1959, the modern Pali Highway was constructed, featuring tunnels bored directly through the Kūlau Mountains to create a safer and more direct route between Honolulu and Kailua. Additionally, the highway's opening was timed with Hawaii's statehood, marking a period of rapid modernization and economic growth. Today, the Pali Highway is a vital transportation link for Oahu residents and a popular route for tourists, offering breathtaking views of the lush Uanu Valley and the windward coast, while the Pali Lookout, situated along the highway, provides a panoramic view of the Kūlau Mountains and the Pacific Ocean, making it one of the most iconic scenic stops on the island. Despite said modernization, Pali remains shrouded in traditional Hawaiian legend and spirituality, and it's believed that the ghosts of the warriors who died in the Battle of Uanu still haunt the cliffsides and the highway. And that's not all. Incidentally, those traveling to Pali have reported eerie voices or snippets of old conversations heard through car radios, instances of parked vehicles refusing to restart, and sightings of unnatural creatures that skirt through the nearby forests. Additionally, several have told of observing entire scenes of battle that they believe to be reenactments, only to watch in shock as all parties present fade into nothingness, while others have described hearing the sounds of warfare in the distance. Easily the most famous story surrounding the Pali Highway ties itself to traditional Hawaiian legend and revolves around the goddess Pele and the demigod Kamapua'a. As it's told, Kamapua'a was born with powerful abilities to shapeshift or replicate himself, and though it's said that he was a very handsome man, he grew up loathed by his family, and ended up living in isolation while tattooing his body with menacing black designs, and adorning himself in the hide of a pig. Incidentally, he is most often depicted as a swine, or as half man, half pig. Conversely, as most of us already know, Pele was a powerful goddess who controlled fire, lightning, wind, and lava, and her temperament accurately mirrored these abilities. Legend claims that Kamapua'a met Pele and fell deeply in love with her, after which he convinced her to take him as a partner. However, when they slept together for the first and only time, Kamapua'a transformed in front of her, terrifying the goddess, and resulting in them parting ways. The two powerful beings struck a deal that would ensure they never meet again, and divided the island, with Pele taking the leeward side, and Kamapua'a taking the windward side. Now, as legend has it, while traveling the Pali Highway, it's important not to bring pork, bacon, or any form of pig, lest you risk the wrath of Pele. And while this may seem just a story, countless are reports of those who have tempted fate and had their cars break down mid-drive, or that have been stopped in one way or another that's out of their control. Additionally, of those who have broken down, some have told of being approached by Pele herself, who can appear either as a young and beautiful girl or as an old woman, and that's usually accompanied by a white dog. Some tell that should you meet the goddess face to face, it's important you throw any pork items out for the dog to eat, and that only then will she let you continue on your way unharmed. Our third haunt takes us west to the island of Kauai and on a hike along the Wailua River State Park. The Wailua River State Park, which is located on the eastern end of Kauai in Hawaii, is a site of great historical and cultural significance. Its flow, which is the only navigable river on the islands, has played a crucial role in the island's history for centuries, and its landscape holds strong ties to some pretty chilling ghost stories and tales of supernatural happenings. Historically, this area was once the political and religious center of ancient Kauai, serving as the home of Kauai's ruling chiefs and the location of several sacred heiaus, or places of worship. The Wailua River Valley was known as a place of spiritual power, and its rich natural resources supported a thriving Hawaiian populace. Along the riverbanks, remnants of ancient Hawaiian villages, petroglyphs, and irrigation systems revealed the complex social and agricultural practices of the early Hawaiian people, and the river itself was a vital lifeline, providing water for taro cultivation and serving as a transportation route between inland communities and coastal fishing areas. Additionally, the region's most sacred site is the Holoholoku Heiau, one of the oldest places of worship in Hawaii, where rituals and ceremonies, including the birth of royal children, were conducted. And not far away from there is the Bellstone, a large volcanic rock that was struck to announce the birth of a chief, signifying the continuation of noble lineage. The park also includes the Poliahu Heiau, a temple dedicated to the goddess of snow, Poliahu, which is perched on a cliff overlooking the river. The Wailua River itself flows for about 20 miles from the highlands of Mount Waialeale, one of the wettest places on Earth, down through the lush Wailua Valley before emptying into the Pacific Ocean. And through the 19th and early 20th centuries, the Wailua River Valley became an important site for the sugarcane industry, which brought economic growth and immigration to the island, but also that led to the displacement of the native Hawaiian communities. Despite these changes, many of the sacred sites along the river have been preserved, and the area remains a deeply important cultural landmark for Native Hawaiians. In 1962, Wailua River State Park was established to protect the region's natural beauty and historical significance. Today, this park encompasses not only the river and its surrounding valley, but also several key landmarks, including the iconic Opaika'a Falls and Wailua Falls, both of which that have become popular visitor destinations due to their breathtaking beauty. The park also includes the Fern Grotto, a lava rock cave covered in ferns that was once reserved for Hawaiian royalty, and it's now accessible by boat tours along the river. Visitors to the park can experience a mix of natural splendor and cultural history, with a multitude of hiking trails, kayaking opportunities, and guided tours that provide insight into the region's ancient past and ongoing cultural importance. In the present, Wailua River State Park remains a testament to the enduring legacy of the Hawaiian people and to the deep connection between the land, the river, and the spiritual traditions of Kauai. Chillingly, however, behind the deceptive veneer of beauty offered by this seemingly serene state park, this landscape harbors a much darker side, one wrought with classic ghost stories and tales of encounters with dangerous entities, and those who have explored its bounds have reported instances of cell phones behaving erratically or dying on full charges, of trails or nearby forests seemingly changing to confuse hikers, and of close calls with what are known as the menehune, which are described as small, mischievous people that build island features such as fish ponds or temples overnight. While the menehune are not generally considered dangerous, some lore depicts them as boogeymen or as being responsible for disappearances, though Hawaiian culture has attempted to squash these tales as nothing more than fantasy. One more famous Wailua River story tells that long ago, during times of great turmoil, tribes would sacrifice children to the gods, after which they'd throw their bodies into the river to be consumed into its depths. Disturbingly, a number of high-profile accounts detail run-ins with ghostly children along the current, and in 1992, a high-profile account offered by a group of campers reported them being unable to fall asleep after dark, as they could hear what sounded like a group of children continuously wailing late into the night. Lastly, those who have stayed in the park just a bit too late have reported horrifying run-ins with another of Hawaii's most famous entities, being the Night Marchers. As it's told, Night Marchers are deadly ghosts of late Hawaiian warriors who rise from their graves or directly from the ocean itself and march in large groups to old battle sites or places of great significance. These marchers are described as donning terrifying armor and masks, and as holding both weapons and torches, and their presence is usually announced through the beating of war drums, the screams of conch shells, and through the strong odor of decomposition. Now, as legend has it, anyone who looks directly upon these marchers will die a violent death, and no barrier or mortal weapon can hurt or even slow them down. So it's important that should one find themselves in the presence of approaching marchers, that they lie face down on the ground and keep their eyes firmly shut until the war party passes. The only other way to survive this terrifying situation is through bloodlines, as it's told that if a person has an ancestor among these undead warriors, that this ancestor will call out "Na'u," which means mine, to the rest of the group, and that by their law, the marchers will let a true descendant pass unharmed. Our fourth haunt lands us off the southern shores of Oahu and takes us on a journey through the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum. The Pearl Harbor, or Pacific Aviation Museum, which is located on Ford Island on Oahu in Hawaii, is a significant educational site dedicated to the preservation and showcasing of the history of aviation in the Pacific region, particularly focusing on World War II and the attack on Pearl Harbor. The museum is situated within two historic hangars, being Hangar 37 and Hangar 79, which played direct roles in the events of December 7, 1941, when the Japanese Imperial Navy launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. And while the site is immensely popular amongst both locals and tourists for its ties to America's past, it's also grown a great deal in infamy due to a purported slew of paranormal activity experienced across its bounds. Historically, the brutal attack was a pivotal moment in American history, leading to the United States' entry into World War II, and Hangar 37, which serves as the museum's main exhibit hall, houses a wide range of artifacts and aircraft that tell the story of the attack and its aftermath. Among these exhibits are authentic crafts such as a Japanese Zero fighter, an American P-40 Warhawk, and a restored B-25 Mitchell bomber. These planes are displayed alongside personal artifacts, photographs, and historical documents that provide context to the events of the war in the Pacific. The museum also features multimedia presentations and interactive exhibits that allow visitors to experience the tension and chaos of the attack through first-hand accounts and historical reenactments. And Hangar 79, which still bears bullet holes from the attack, houses additional aircraft and restoration projects, offering a glimpse into the ongoing effort to preserve the legacy of Pacific aviation history. Heck, even the location of the museum on Ford Island itself holds deep historical ties, as this exact spit of land was a key target during the attack on Pearl Harbor, and many of the aircraft stationed there were destroyed or damaged during the assault. Historically, the brutal attack was a pivotal moment in American history. The museum site was established in 2006 as part of a larger effort to preserve the history of the now legendary battle and the role of aviation in the Pacific theater of World War II, and its mission was not only to commemorate the events of that fateful day, but also to educate visitors regarding the broader history of military aviation and the strategic importance of the Pacific region during the 20th century. The museum's collection includes both restored and unrestored aircraft from other periods as well, including from the Korean War, from the Vietnam War, and from the Cold War, highlighting the evolution of aviation technology and military strategy over the years. And some of said aircraft include a Boeing F-15A Eagle and a Bell UH-1 Iroquois or Huey helicopter, which played crucial roles in modern conflicts. Restoration efforts at the museum are ongoing to this day, with a dedicated team of volunteers and aviation experts working to preserve and restore these historic craft to their original condition. The Pacific Aviation Museum also hosts educational programs, flight simulations, and outreach events to engage the public and honor the legacy of those who served and died in the Pacific Theater. This prestigious site remains open into the present, allowing for visitors to stand on the very same grounds where history was made, while providing a powerful connection to the past, and acting as a constant reminder both of the sacrifices made during World War II and the resilience of those who defended our very country's freedom. Not really all that surprisingly, the old museum site has long been surrounded by ghost stories claiming restless spirits resulting from the brutal attack remain on site, forever tethered to the island, and both staff and visitors to its bounds have reported extreme cold spots felt in hot weather, instances of objects moving around on their own, or displays found rearranged overnight, and tales of guests interacting with people who didn't show up on security footage later. Both informal and high-profile paranormal investigations have been held all across Ford Island and have yielded high EMF levels, chilling EVPs that seemingly capture moments from the battle, and hits on thermal grids, spirit boxes, Ouija boards, and more, while others have told of capturing shadowy figures or half-formed silhouettes in photography and video, or spying them out of the peripheral. While not directly linked to the museum itself, easily some of Ford Island's most famous ghost stories revolve around the nearby USS Arizona Memorial. During the attack, the Arizona was sunk, after which she would act as a tomb to more than 900 crew members. To this day, the ship remains are still visible just below the surface of the ocean, right off of the shores of Ford Island, and it's believed countless restless spirits tied to her linger near. Disturbingly, those walking the eastern end of the island or visiting the memorial that was constructed atop the old vessel have reported phantom voices on the winds, the sounds of artillery fire and loud explosions, and more rarely, some have detailed instances in which the ship can be seen glowing after dark, and spectral soldiers can be observed rushing around its sunken decks. Another popular and rather eerie story regarding the museum has to do with a ghostly pilot that's likely tied to one of the aircraft kept on site. As it's told, late one evening, a security guard was doing his usual rounds in Hangar 37 when he noticed a figure standing near one of the restored planes. As he neared this figure, he could see the man was dressed in an old flight suit with a helmet tucked under one arm and was seemingly standing at attention. Thinking the man was either a reenactor or maybe someone who'd wandered off from a tour program, the guard placed his hand on the pilot's shoulder gently and stated, "Sir, the museum is closed." The figure then turned slowly to face the guard. He was unnaturally pale and his eyes were hollow. He then said, "I'm waiting for my squadron," before turning back around and fading away. Following this chilling encounter, the security guard checked footage from that night, but the mysterious pilot was nowhere to be found. And later, when he described the uniform to a historian at the museum, it was confirmed that his garb matched the style worn by pilots at Pearl Harbor through the early 1940s. Our fifth and final hunt takes us a short distance across the harbor and down the coastline from our last, and has us touring Honolulu's illustrious Iolani Palace. Iolani Palace, which is located in downtown Honolulu on the island of Oahu, stands as a powerful symbol of the Hawaiian Kingdom's rich history and cultural legacy. It is, in fact, the only royal palace in the United States that served as the official residence of the Hawaiian monarchy during the late 19th century, and today is not solely a popular destination stop for locals and tourists interested in the island's history, but is also infamous amongst paranormal investigators for its ties to some of Hawaii's most famous ghost stories. The history of Iolani Palace was closely tied to the political and social changes that shaped the Hawaiian Islands during this period. The palace was commissioned by King David Kalakaua, who sought to create a grand and modern residence that reflected the sovereignty and status of the Hawaiian Kingdom, and construction began in 1871 and was completed by 1882 at a total cost of $340,000, which was a considerable sum at the time. King Kalakaua was heavily inspired by his travels around the world, particularly his visits to the grand palaces of European monarchs, and his vision was to create a palace that combined Western architectural styles with native Hawaiian craftsmanship and cultural symbolism. Incidentally, the resulting design incorporated American Florentine architecture, characterized by ornate detailing, wide verandas, and a distinctive fusion of Western and Polynesian influences. And notably, Kalakaua's ambition was to demonstrate to the world that Hawaii was a modern and independent nation, complete with a sophisticated government and culture. Iolani Palace was outfitted with state-of-the-art technology for its era, marking it as one of the most advanced buildings at the time. It was the first royal residence on the planet to boast electric lighting, even before the White House and Buckingham Palace, and it also featured indoor plumbing, a telephone, and a modern ventilation system. The Grand Hall featured a large koa wood staircase, and the palace was decorated with luxurious European furnishings, hand-carved woodwork, and fine tapestries. The throne room, which hosted royal receptions and important state functions, was adorned with gold leaf detailing and crimson and gold furnishings, while the palace's blue room, which was used for informal gatherings, featured a large portrait of King Louis Philippe of France, symbolizing the diplomatic relationships Hawaii maintained with European powers. The dining room showcased fine china and crystal, and the private royal apartments reflected the personal tastes of King Kalakaua and his sister, then Princess and later Queen Liliuokalani. Kalakaua's reign was a period of significant cultural revival and prowess, as he encouraged the resurgence of traditional Hawaiian arts, music, and hula, while also embracing newer Western innovation. After King Kalakaua's death in 1891, his sister, the aforementioned Queen Liliuokalani, ascended the throne and made Iolani Palace her official residence. However, her reign was marked by increasing political pressure from American and European businessmen who sought to gain control over Hawaii's land and resources. Liliuokalani attempted to introduce a new constitution that would restore power to the native Hawaiian monarchy while limiting the influence of foreign settlers. But this effort only alarmed the powerful group of American and European business leaders known as the Committee of Safety, who conspired to overthrow the monarchy. And in January of 1893, with the support of U.S. Minister John L. Stevens and the presence of U.S. Marines, the monarchy was overthrown, and Queen Liliuokalani was deposed. The new provisional government would then take control of Iolani Palace, turning it into a headquarters for the Republic of Hawaii. And in 1895, after this failed attempt to restore the monarchy, Queen Liliuokalani was arrested and charged with treason, after which she was imprisoned in a small room on the second floor of the palace for nearly 8 months. On a side note, during her captivity, she composed several songs, including the famous Aloha Oe, which became a poignant symbol of the Hawaiian people's sorrow and resilience. After Hawaii was annexed by the US in 1898, Iolani became the seat of government for the territory of Hawaii, and the palace was used as the territorial capital building, housing the offices of the governor and other government departments. And during this period, the property was stripped of its original royal furnishings, and many of its valuable artifacts were sold, lost, or scattered across the world. The building underwent significant changes to accommodate its new governmental function, including the addition of partitions and office spaces that altered the original floor plan and design. Despite these changes, however, the palace remained a powerful symbol of the Hawaiian monarchy and a reminder of the kingdom's complex history. And eventually, in 1969, the government offices were moved to the new state capitol building, while Iolani Palace was left empty and in need of restoration. Through the 1970s, a dedicated effort was launched to restore the palace to its original grandeur, during which time, historians, architects, and cultural experts worked to locate and recover original furnishings and artifacts. Many of said pieces were eventually found in private collections, museums, and antique shops, while replicas were created to replace lost items, and the palace underwent extensive structural restoration to repair the damages caused during its use as a government building. In 1978, Iolani was reopened to the public as a museum, allowing visitors to explore its historic rooms and learn about the Hawaiian monarchy's legacy. And back in 1962, it was designated a National Historic Landmark, highlighting the site's significance in American and Hawaiian history. Today, Iolani Palace stands as a testament to the resilience and strength of the Hawaiian people, and guided tours offer visitors insight into the political and cultural past of the Hawaiian kingdom, including the rise and fall of the monarchy, the events surrounding the overthrow, and the ongoing efforts to preserve and celebrate Hawaiian heritage. Chillingly, alongside acting as one of the most iconic places on Oahu, Iolani Palace is also recognized as one of its most haunted, and both staff and visitors over the years have reported disembodied footsteps heard from empty rooms, phantom voices that emanate from thin air, and instances of doors or windows opening and closing on their own. Additionally, some have described feeling as if they're being watched or followed by someone or something unseen, while others swear they've felt the soft touch of a hand brush across their back. One of the palace's more famous ghost stories tells that the spirit of Queen Liliuokalani may still be roaming its grounds. While the queen didn't actually die on site, the takeover and her subsequent imprisonment were definitely the death of Hawaii's monarchy, and it said this is what left her soul restless, and what caused it to return to the palace after her passing. As it's told, the ghost of Liliuokalani can still be sighted around 5:30 every morning, walking the grounds in a rich black dress, and sometimes also through the window of her former bedroom where she was held captive. Another haunted hotspot on palace grounds is that of its basement, where the royal family's wine cellar and kitchen were located. While it's unknown who or what inhabits this space, to this day, staff report feeling uneasy and creeped out when they have to go down there, and several have described hearing strange noises or seeing shadowy figures moving in the peripheral. Also reported at the palace are phantom torchlights spied at a distance or around corners that are always gone when anyone goes to investigate, the strong smell of tobacco smoke late at night without source, and instances in which the piano, which is completely encased in glass, is heard playing itself. One particular point of interest is a fenced-off sacred mound held on palace grounds that marks the former burial site of King Kamehameha II and of Queen Kamamalu, who both, following their trip to England in 1824, died of measles. Through the years following, the site would be utilized to hold 18 bodies belonging to the royal family, up until a new royal mausoleum was constructed, and all bodies were disinterred and moved there instead. Now, it's told that if one visits the site, especially after dark, that they might just come face to face with the walking dead remnants of those who were once laid to rest here, stuck forever searching for their rightful burial places. Another famous Iolani Palace tale tells that following its creation, that Queen Kapiolani, sometime through the 1880s, planted a couple of banyan trees on palace grounds, and that eventually they grew into the grouping of banyan trees that remain today. Now, standing legend tells these trees are infested with the spirits of the dead, but not royalty, rather those who died near and had no families to care for them. Some have since told that near these trees, they can hear whispers from their branches, and several eerier stories detail witnesses watching as dark shapes climb through their heights. Thanks for joining me on this adventure through some of Hawaii's most haunted places. If you enjoyed hearing my histories and ghost stories, subscribe to my channel, throw this upload a like, and share me with anyone you think could use a good scare. I'll catch you all next time, and stay spooky.